Well, Miso's back, and so is Molly and Lauren from the Kind campaign. I'm so happy that we were able to do this. Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us.
You know, I've shared so much about how bullying affected me as a woman and my childhood, and you guys created this incredible program and curriculum that I often think if I had had that, you know, how would my life have been different?
For me, I just had this really dark, really hard chapter in middle school.
Yeah.
You know, just was really ostracized, and I honestly could have a laundry list of the things that happened, but the more important part of it being like the effect of that as a 13-year-old girl when you're, you know, 11 to 13, middle school, your brain isn't even like fully developed yet, and you're like figuring out who you are, and you have hormones, you know, racing, and your whole identity really is in that little world that you're in, which is school. And so when that all kind of comes crumbling down, it's a really hard thing. For me, I ended up dealing with a severe depression, which turned into an eating disorder that I battled for years, and you know, had suicidal thoughts, and just like really kind of just fully went down that path, and really lost myself in that experience. And since then, kind of just always felt really passionately about starting a conversation about that, but then also just trying to like understand why was that kind of a universal experience for girls and for women.
It's like it manifests differently for everyone, right? Like for you it was an eating disorder, for me it was drug addiction, with of course this underlying like suicide, like I don't know if I could get through this. I mean, what was it for you? And also I think too, it's, you don't feel safe, right? And so then you go into your adult life and you're constantly fighting this, like, I don't feel safe anywhere. You know?
I think for me, just during that time, my experience was during my junior year of high school, and I think the biggest thing was just feeling, and Lauren touched on this a little bit, like when you're in school, especially like for younger, you know, middle schoolers and high schoolers, that time period, it's so hard to see beyond that.
Totally.
And so thinking back on my younger self, like in that time period, I didn't know like what the future, like I didn't see a future, because going to school every single day, just I felt so completely alone. And so like living in that space of not knowing, you know, what else was out there is such a, it's a hard thing to like get up and go to school every day when you're living in that space day in and day out. And so for me, at the end of my junior year, the person who, you know, kind of instigated a bunch of things ended up apologizing. And it's one of my favorite things to be able to talk about and to share when we're doing our assemblies, because it made, I mean, it was life-changing for me. You know, that entire year, here I was questioning myself and wondering why were these things happening, or what I could do differently, or how could I make them stop. And in her apology, she shared, you know, she didn't even know why she was doing the things that she was doing. Yes, there's assemblies with the two of us that are founders assemblies, where the two of us go in and we're the ones who are facilitating the assembly. So we've spoken in over 600 schools around the globe.
One of my favorite things in our assemblies is where you see one girl like walking out with like 20 apologies in her hand, and you just know that she's the girl in school who's like been the chosen one to be picked on for whatever reason. Just to see and like really feel how healing that is for someone, not only the person receiving the apology, but the person giving it. Like it's a healing thing for that person as well, so that you don't have to carry that guilt. And I feel like apologizing in particular is such an important conversation for adults as well. Like I feel like into adulthood too, like we feel like we have to have it all figured out, and we like know how, you know, how we treat people, and it's always perfect, but it's not. I actually apologized to a friend last week. I said something that was, and I was like, that didn't feel right, and I like called her. I was like, and she was like totally fine, but but I know that she probably wanted to hear that, and it felt good, because I was like, I didn't mean that, and I know it sounded weird, and and I feel like we need to be comfortable doing that, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person if you need to apologize about something. It's like we all have things happen, and just to know how, yeah, it should just be like a very normal part of life. But it is so, people get so like stuck up in it and so prideful or scared, you know, to do so.
When I started the brand, I was obviously trying to figure out someone to partner with and to donate to. And my friend Kara mentioned you guys, and I wasn't familiar with what you guys had been doing before.
Thank you, Kara.
Yeah, shout out to Kara, we love you. And you know, I just like did a little Instagram deep dive and internet deep dive and figured out what you guys were up to, and I was just, you know, like I said in the beginning of this, just so blown away. And just like anything that I can do to help, you're my go-to, you know. It really, like, because I think if you can figure out how to change this dynamic at that age, it can truly change the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
You know? Love you guys so much for what you're doing.
Thank you, and we're so thankful because, you know, doing partnerships like this are honestly how we do the work that we do.
Yeah.
We're really proud to be able to say that all of our programming is free of charge for schools.
Amazing.
And we've been able to maintain that model for probably almost 8 years now. And people think the word nonprofit means like there's no money. Like you need a lot of money for a nonprofit.
Get there.
yeah. And
totally.
so like things like this are honestly how we're able to tell schools like this is free for you. And I think one of the coolest things about that is since being able to provide everything for free, we've been able to, you know, go into so many different types of communities and like a lot of Title I schools, and like we've been into so many schools that tell us that we are the first assembly they've ever had in their school's history because they don't have funding, and they're, you know, they typically programs charge for their services, which we totally get. We've been there, but yeah, it's just, you know, donating and you know, having a proceed go to Kind campaign really helps us, and like it impacts these girls to be able to receive this.
Yeah, so part of our proceeds come to you guys, and then we also send follow-up emails, you know, hey, if you want to continue to spread the kindness, you can donate as well to the Kind campaign. So
so helpful, because also just like raising that awareness about what we're doing, and
we need more of it.
That's how we've grown into where we are today.
We need more of it. I say this all the time. I want to create a space by the time my kids are that age that being mean and being a bully is so uncool, like that is so canceled, that it somehow, and I don't like cancel culture and I don't like the word, but if there is something to get rid of, it's that. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm so grateful and honored to be even associated in any small way that I can be with you. I'm just so grateful for everything you're doing, and I'm excited for people to learn more and find them on Instagram, online, Kind campaign, right?
Yep.
Okay, amazing. Thank you guys.